Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cut to the Chase Sports Podcast, where we bring a unique insight analysis for your favorite sports, the high school, collegiate. We never do high school, collegiate, and professional levels. I'm your host, Chase Yance. Got my partner along here, Brady. What's going on?
Oh, not much, Chase. Just hanging in there. How was your Easter weekend?
It was pretty good. Just spent well with the fam. Assume the same with yours, right?
Yep, exactly. Caught the spring game, which is going to be the top of this episode, obviously. But
that's
about all I can think of that I did on Saturday.
Oh, I know. You were definitely just straight locked into that spring game. That was big for Ohio State in general, just from the, everything that went on at Ohio Stadium. So we're definitely going to. I mean, this is the whole premise of the episode, hence the title. But yeah, Ohio State spring game. We're not going to waste much time. And I didn't watch a whole lot of it. I had a couple of things going on Saturday during the afternoon, but you were at the game. What were your thoughts overall on it? Just in a nutshell.
All right, so I would say compared to last year's spring game, it wasn't as hyped up because there was no quarterback competition to be the starter this year, like last year where there was a three-way battle between C.J. Stroud, Jack Miller, and Kyle McCord. This year it goes into as C.J. Stroud's the clear starter. Let's not put him in any bad situations. Let's get Kyle McCord and Devin Brown more reps, which was nice, and I thought both quarterbacks played well. I thought our DBs looked really good, and I just think overall it was just a nice little preview of how advanced our playbook is going to get because we did something that I've never seen Ohio State do. We did an under center straight drop back pass with no play action, which was weird, and it was incomplete, but it was like it was kind of a bad throw a little bit by Stroud.
Okay.
But the fact that we're trying it is very interesting because Ryan Day will do anything. So we saw some new stuff. Jack Sawyer dropped into coverage one play, and it actually didn't work out because Jackson Smith-Njigba scored a touchdown in his zone. He didn't quite can't. Breaking news: Jack Sawyer can't guard Jackson Smith-Njigba. I guess you could say.
We never heard that headline before, but yeah,
exactly. But like. Things like that. Like it was overall, it was a nice showing. And I would say MVPs of the game, I'm going with offensively, I would go with Evan Pryor. And honestly, I thought G. Scott Jr.
Okay.
So you got I wasn't overly impressed with the O-line. But I thought our D-line was really good, so I think it kind of evens it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought Paris Johnson Jr. looked bad. I'm going to be straight up with it. And he's supposed to – some people have him as the best tackle in the country this year when he's never played tackle in college yet. So we got to push the brakes on that a little bit. But yeah, Evan Pryor, over 100 total yards in the spring game against a good run defense. We've never – Ohio State gets after it. He had a really nice 30-yard rushing touchdown. Looked great in the passing game. His hands are good. He's like a Curtis Samuel, but more of a pure running back. Because if you don't know this, Curtis Samuel was not a wide receiver until his final year at Ohio State whatsoever.
I actually had no idea about that.
He was a pure tailback.
About that.
Yeah, he played 1 year as a wide receiver in college and is now a wide receiver in the NFL because he's that versatile. But I think that's the type of player that Evan Pryor is. And I think when he's your third running back, because Mayan Williams looked fantastic as well, our second string, and then Trey only got a couple carries, and he obviously is very explosive.
Yeah.
But having that trio of running backs, it's the best running back trio in the country. And I don't think many people would argue that in terms of just depth. So I think we're deep there. And then tight end, another takeaway, tight end. Really, really pleased with what I saw from the tight end position. Because I think there were question marks about this year's tight end unit losing Jeremy Ruckert because there's no proven tight end on this team. You got Cade Stover, who was a all-state linebacker in high school, like all-American linebacker, but switched to tight end in college because it never really worked out at linebacker. He kind of switches back and forth. He's a pretty versatile player. You've got G. Scott Jr., wide receiver in high school. And you never expect a guy like that to move to tight end. But here we are, shredded. Great showing from him. and then you've got Joe Royer, more of a thinner tight end, and I think he's more of a receiver. Caught like a 30-yard touchdown pass from Kyle McCord. Really nice catch. So overall, when you have a 3 deep like that, you got your blocker, you've got your hybrid G Scott, and then you've got your receiving tight end. So, I mean, there you go. Like, tight end room showed what I want, and I don't think I want to transfer at this point. Because before the year, I'd say, yeah, we need to transfer at that position.
Yep. I'd say overall, like we remember talking about this on the show before in the preview. I mean, we were talking about the running back duo between Henderson and Williams, and the stepping up of Evan Pryor was nice to see in the spring game. I mean, look at the official stats on him. He had 62 rushing yards and a touchdown, 9 carries, and had 4 catches for 44 yards. So very nice showing right there. But we were talking about the tight ends and all that as a unit. Like we were talking about them, trying to work together as a unit and all that stuff. Good blockers, but then also trying to expand their game with pass catching and all. So very nice to see that. You were mentioning Joe Royer and also G Scott. Royer had 2 catches for 37 yards and G Scott had 5 for 40. So good to see volume coming out of the tight end position on Saturday.
For sure. And I think a lot of people are mistaken when they think like the average person will say Ohio State is not a tight end school, which part of that statement is right. But I don't think they realize that tight end is one of the most crucial positions in our offense because most of our run scheme involves a tight end making a huge block. Mm-hmm. Jeremy Ruckert was a great blocker. And I remember against Clemson in 2020, the game that we won, he missed 1 block. And it screwed up the whole play. Early in the game, we had to punt because he had to block their best linebacker one-on-one and missed him, which is not like him. Screws up the whole play. So that's what people have to realize. Tight end, it's like, well, it doesn't matter how good your tight end is. Yes, it does. It really matters in this offense because all of our tight ends that go to the NFL and are good players. Like they earn starting roles. Jeremy Ruckert will be a good player.
Mm-hmm. And that's talking about like when we talk about tight ends and all that stuff becoming more well-rounded when they go to Ohio State, like if they're good pass catchers in high school and then come to Ohio State and they're really able to work on their block and then like, hey, I'm able to showcase my pass catching as well. Or if they're very good blockers, they're still going to strive very well in there and they can also work on their pass catching when they're at Ohio State. Exactly. So it just makes them a well-rounded, better player and all that stuff. And then that's why you see those guys mature and then they get to the NFL and they've been there. They're able to block the big guys. They're able to be more consistent with that and get time on the field. And then they're able to develop more skills there. It's just more about developing and fine tuning your skills every level you get up there. I mean, you're known as that 4-star or 5-star tight end in high school and then polish the skills in college. You get to the NFL, polish more of the skills and try to make a name for yourself. So, tight end with this scheme Ohio State runs, it is tight ends are going to block a lot. So, like with you're running a lot of 3x1 and all that stuff. So being able to see the tight ends really try to expand beyond their horizon, stuff like that is pretty big. So we talk a whole lot about offense and all that stuff. We can go back to the quarterbacks. What did you see from? I know CJ Stroud only played like a drive, but what did you see from the other quarterbacks?
So I guess I'll hit on CJ Stroud just briefly. Okay. He just is so confident. He's not the same CJ Stroud as we saw week 1 last year at this point.
Oh, yeah.
He took some shots that were like, wow, like this dude he knew he was taking a shot, and I love it. Like he threw one to Emeka Egbuka. Egbuka gets held. They don't call it, whatever. They would have called it in a real game. They kind of just let him play a little bit.
Yeah.
He connected with Njiba for a touchdown. Nice to see. They're running he ran on a 3rd down. He ran a read option when they can't even hit him, and he got the first down. It's just things like that you like to see. But, that's all we really saw from him. Not too much to really show, obviously, because we already know what he is. But in terms of Kyle McCord and Devin Brown, I think we have 2 of the best backups in the country for sure. I mean, no one would really argue that. I mean, those 2 would start. I mean, Kyle McCord this year, with his knowledge of football and all, would start at every other Big Ten school. I'm pretty confident. And I'm not saying that's for certain.
Yeah.
But he would make a push. And that's the thing. Like seeing him make that strike throw across the middle to Joe Royer for a touchdown, especially because Joe Royer isn't like a main threat. It was a perfect ball. Like he put juice on it because one of his problems last year in backup time was he would seem like he would kind of loft the ball like it's still high school. And he's got a strong arm, but he would kind of he threw a bad interception against Michigan State. And part of that's because he's cold on the sideline. I get it. But he threw the ball with confidence, and I thought he was accurate. So McCord, good showing out there, especially because our DBs are good at all levels. We have the deepest DB room in maybe the country. And then Devin Brown, that dude can sling it. I mean, I didn't even really not even like talking about like stats aside, which he had a pretty nice showing stat-wise. Threw a touchdown, had a good amount of yards, I believe, for the amount of attempts he threw. Wow. I mean, he might have the strongest arm on the team over Stroud even. Like the dude threw a deep ball in like the third quarter. The thing might have to have gone 60 yards easy. And it was just a normal deep shot to Caleb Burton, a freshman receiver. And it was a little bit over his head, but a starting receiver runs under that. Mm-hmm. Like it was a bomb. And he threw a beautifully timed corner out for a touchdown to a walk-on receiver. And he just overall, Devin Brown, I'm excited about that. I'm excited about that guy for the future. I think that, like I said, I'm pretty honest on here. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think he's the guy after Stroud leaves, even though Kyle McCord's a serviceable quarterback. I think Devin Brown's the next starter.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's got great size and all that. Even like Buckeyes Wire, USA Today even compared him like somewhat wise to Dwayne Haskins as a quarterback. It's interesting comparison. Yeah. But
they have similarities for sure.
There's similarities there. They just decided to put that in there. But yeah, like we even talked about last show. Ohio State's able to just bring in guys if they're able to consistently have quarterbacks for every 2 years and then make it get them to the draft and get them to the league and all that, which we've done a very good job over the last course of like 4 or 5 years to say the least.
Ever since we've been getting good quarterback recruits, they're going to the league because we used to recruit college style quarterbacks, like more of runners, and they'll make some throws, but they're not going to, except other than Troy Smith. I'm talking about JT Barrett, all these guys. They were good college quarterbacks, but everyone knew they wouldn't be NFL quarterbacks. Now you get your Dwayne Haskins of the world, who he wasn't even that high of a recruit in high school, but we got him because Urban knew his talent level, and it was insane. And then he goes to the league first round. Justin Fields, CJ Stroud's guaranteed first round. It's a pipeline, and part of that is recruiting the receivers that we have. And that's another this is a little bit off topic, but talking about the tight ends, if you have to throw it to your tight end a lot, you're probably not that good of an offense because if you got those guys on the outside, you're not going to need to throw it to your big, slow tight ends as much. Mm-hmm. You look at the teams that throw it to the tight end every play. You got your Iowa States, your Michigans, your Iowa, your Wisconsin. These teams don't have receivers. That's the sad truth. These teams do not have the guys on the outside that an Ohio State or an Alabama or a Clemson has.
Yeah, and that's when we talk. That's when like you get into scheme and all that stuff. So, like those teams, especially in the West and all that for Big Ten West, they continually run the football, use tight ends. Like it's really like scarce for when it comes to receiving and all that. So that kind of holds them back in today's college football game because it's let's be honest, it's slinging around is what it is. That's what football is. But it's just slinging around, especially in college football. The most explosive offense and big time defense in big time scenarios will win games and national titles. So I do want to talk about that though. Ohio State's like the scheme stuff. What did you see schematically from Ohio State's offense? And then we can also shift into the defense when it comes to standouts and scheme. So what do you like from Ohio State's offensive scheme? I know you talked about drop back passing and all that stuff, like straight under center, which I've never seen in my life before from an Ohio State. I know you watch Ohio State like 24/7.
So never seen it.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts there?
So like that, I like the change. Like I like that Ryan Day will just do something like that because he's not going to come out doing it, but you're just not going to expect it. You're going to expect some type. They're going to freeze. The defense is going to freeze when you see him under center, and they're going to wait. And you can't freeze because they're running. He's going immediately back, and you don't expect it. And so boom. And I like that surprise that could certainly happen at some point this season. But other than that. I think they kept it extremely basic for the spring game. I don't think they showed as much as they definitely could have because we run some crazy plays in real games, like so much motion. Receivers, you don't expect them coming in different ways. We didn't run those plays in the spring game, and we didn't last year either, and then they happened in the game. So I don't want to look too much into it, but we were throwing a lot of like speed outs, little quick throws. Access passes that the defense is giving you. And then from time to time, we would take a go shot down the sideline. So overall, not much new on offense for scheme, but that under center drop back did definitely catch my eye.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, like I said, I mean, it is a spring. There's a few months before, fall camp starts and all that. So, there's a lot of more things to be put in. This is just kind of to test some stuff out. See, like, oh, maybe we could use this, or we have some in our back pocket that is really going to be useful. So, and the Ohio State, obviously, the highest level of Division I football, or team you can get, up there of Alabama and all those other blue bloods. So, looking at scheme and all that, It is interesting when you look at the spring because you don't want to really get wrapped up in it and all that stuff, saying that, okay, we know what we're gonna run when it gets to the fall, but it is interesting to see some of these these different concepts, even if it's one different concept or compared to like 5 different concepts. So, it's interesting to look at. And we go over to the defense before we get into that. The Sevyn Banks transfer over to LSU. How's that gonna affect this defense? Before we jump.
Well. So in terms of Ohio State, I don't think this was out of any animosity for the program is what I first want to state. I don't think this is I think Jameson Williams' transfer last year was different. I think that was him thinking that he got screwed over or whatever, which have whatever opinion you guys want on that. Yeah. But I think this is more of okay, so I'm done. I spent my 4 years here. I graduated, played some good football, but 2 guys broke out the year before, and I don't know how. I mean, I'll play, but how much am I going to play if I stay? And do they even want me back? I think there might have been a little bit of a dual. Yeah, maybe spend that graduate transfer year somewhere else and boost your draft stock. So I think he's still a Buckeye. I think that's still his school. I think he'll consider himself more of a Buckeye than a Tiger. But I like the decision. In terms of going to LSU, as we all know, they are the second school at producing first round level DBs. They probably produced the second most behind Ohio State since 2012 or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, Sevyn Banks, good addition for LSU. But in terms of how that affects Ohio State defense, I don't think it matters too much. Our 2 starting cornerbacks were going to be Denzel, Burke, and Cam Brown based off last year's play. Burke's going to go in the first round he has to stay another year after this year, but he's going to go in the first round of the 2024 NFL draft. And in terms of young guys, I think there's young guys that kind of we want to get in the game and start developing a little bit more than Banks, who's already spent 3 years getting minutes at Ohio State. To where if you're not going to go to the NFL, that's a good transfer, good decision. In terms of my other college team, I like UNC basketball. That's more of I see that like the Garrison Brooks situation. Like it's a free year, spend it at any college you want that wants you, and boost your stock. Mm-hmm. His bio literally says 2023 NFL draft.
Oh, there you go.
Which is hilarious. Like he's just admitting that that's his eyes. Like I don't think he's really into the college ball anymore because he spent so much time doing it. And LSU is not winning the title. We all know this. So we'll see how it works. Good corner, likable dude, and I'll be rooting for him this year.
Yeah, he's definitely not ashamed to say it for sure. So he's ready. He is ready to kind of, do his time and then just, focus on the draft and everything. Like
Right.
a lot of the SEC schools, when it comes to like, it comes to fans and it comes to like how they kind of, I know obviously like there's a bunch of, bigger schools up north, but the way things are done down south, they do run it like they are in the NFL. So it's, so I mean, maybe he wanted a different look, or he definitely wanted a different look or something like that. And, maybe get more of a, I not say more of an NFL atmosphere. Ohio State obviously, produces a ton of NFL players, but it's just the way football is down to the South is a bit different than it is, up here. But
Right.
Maybe that's the whole thing that came through with that. But yeah,
I think it's more different. Yeah, I would say, like, I definitely agreed for sure. Football, definitely. But I feel like Ohio State is kind of just like that. Like, I feel like it's the Maine North school that treats it the same, similar way. But I think we also have those North qualities to where it's not just about business like it is in the South. Like, there's a brotherhood of whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. Like, a lot of people that go to a school like LSU, I feel like leave. I'm not even calling out Seven Banks, but will leave the school and not appreciate their time there. They were there for business.
Yeah.
And I feel like you don't see that as much at like a school like Ohio State or a Wisconsin. So I think it's definitely different the way they run things.
Yeah, and it also comes to the mindset. I mean, obviously everybody's, goal is to get to the league and all that stuff, but there's a lot of wants and needs that are coming off to the side and all that stuff, and that really come into play every day when you come to practice or game days and all that stuff. So, there's a lot, like, all these players have different appeals. They come from different places. So, and a lot of them have been told different things. So, you also got to take that all into account. But yeah, Seven Banks going to LSU. You talked about Jack Sawyer for a second. What are your thoughts on the defense? What'd you like?
First of all, I really liked two levels of the defense.
Okay.
I like the D line and I like the secondary, which we know last year's struggles with the linebackers, but a little bit of the D line as well.
Yeah.
So I think we saw a lot of more improvement from the D line. I thought Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimala looked amazing. I thought that they both showed some great technique, great pass rushing moves, and they honestly embarrassed Paris Johnson, which was, I don't know how to take that. Like, I don't want Paris Johnson to suck.
Oh yeah.
If I'm going to put it, because he has so much potential. So, but I also want Jack Sawyer and JT to explode onto the scene. So you take that as you will. And then D tackles played well. And then secondary, wow, the corners were amazing for the most part. You got Denzel Burke. He was breaking up passes to the starting receivers from C.J. Stroud. He broke up a touchdown to Marvin Harrison Jr., who Marvin's catching that any day of the week against most corners. But Denzel made a play on the ball, like in Marvin's hands, broke up a touchdown. He also broke up like a sideline route to Marvin Harrison Jr. So he was kind of getting in there a little bit, even against the starters. And then Cam Brown, I didn't even notice them throw a ball at him, which is a good thing. If you don't notice a corner, it's also a good thing. So I'm sure he played good because I didn't notice him. And then even Jordan Hancock, who was a sophomore, highly recruited out of high school. He had like 46 offers, committed to Clemson because it was close to home, and his mom had cancer, but then she didn't have cancer anymore, so he felt free to go to where he wanted to, which was Ohio State. And it was huge land for the program because we viewed him as the best corner in the country. Didn't play much last year, and then this year's spring game, I mean, the dude was playing nasty. He's breaking up deep balls. He's making tackles behind the line of scrimmage, and he's just playing like a dog. And then safety-wise, freshman Kai Stokes, true freshman, unranked when we offered him. Literally was not ranked in the top 1,000. We offer him, and then Bama offers him 3 days later, and then Georgia, and then LSU, and then all those schools offered him. So, and then he only rose to like 374 or 500, depending on who. The ranking was atrocious. Watching his film out of high school, I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, that's a top 5 safety in high school football.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the best players in the country, and there's not a question about that. So, really nice to see him on the field because he looked unbelievable. Another guy breaking up, made many big plays, kind of dropped an interception against CJ Stroud, and he was like mad about it. But it was a great play on the ball, nonetheless. So yeah, Kai Stokes. I mean, he could see the field in a pretty loaded safety room. But Josh Proctor looked good, back out there for the first time in a while. Tanner Mcallister looked solid, the new transfer from Oklahoma State. He got like a pass interference call on him, but that was just because it was an underthrown ball. And then Ja'Kalen Johnson also looked good, another sophomore corner. So DBs, really nice in the spring game for the most part. And then same with D-line. And linebacker-wise, I mean, there were some good plays, but there was also some times where I saw some dudes like on Evan Pryor's touchdown run, Taraja Mitchell, like tried to arm tackle him and just fell on the ground. Like you just don't want to see that from a fifth-year senior that was ranked as like the number 3 inside linebacker in the country against the guy that hasn't touched the college football field in meaningful minutes yet. Great run from Evan Pryor, but you also want to see him make that tackle. And then other than that, linebacker room was just average. With Steel Chambers, didn't notice him much, but I didn't see him do anything bad. Tommy Eichenberg was the linebacker that stood out to me the most. And he sucked at the beginning of the year last year. He sucked every game except for one last year. Or no, two games. He played good against Michigan State and Utah. So 2 big games, 2 good games, I will say.
Towards the end of the year.
Towards the end of the year. 17. He had 0 tackles against Tulsa as a starting linebacker that game.
Golly.
And then had 17 against Utah and became the Rose Bowl defensive MVP. So that's how much he changed.
Talk about a
strong. So strong. And then in terms of the Michigan game, I don't think the dude played. I really don't think they put him in there that much, which I'm not going to blame him for. But yeah, he looked good. And then I think the last thing I want to touch on in terms of the linebacker unit is the freshman CJ Hicks, Gabe Powers, Ohio kids. Got bright futures for sure. But they look solid. Gabe Powers had a nice play, I remember, on a pass play to Evan Pryor. Like he made the tackle pretty quick. And then CJ Hicks, didn't notice him much, but again, it's a spring game. You don't have a lot of reps to make noise in a spring game, but you know, they got promising futures.
Yeah, obviously. Like it's good to, it's really good to see your DBs flying around like that, especially in a spring game, because receivers they're working a lot in 7-on-7 and all that, and as corners, like if you're going 7-on-7, say like a corner can't really get a good jam on a receiver, like with pads on and stuff like that. There's more physical attributes when you have pads on and everything when you're playing in a real game. So it's good to see the corners are really flying around, doing their thing out there, especially against how good of Ohio State's receivers are. So and also the secondary, those two are linked in together. So very promising to see there. And then I watched a couple of clips, like Jack Sawyer's move on Parrish Johnson just blew me away.
Oh, it was great. And then again though, it's like wow, like it's such a great move on one side of the ball, but on the other side, like that's our first round tackle getting abused.
Yeah,
like do we want to see that? And who knows? Maybe Jack Sawyer is a Bosa brother, which anybody's getting beat by a Bosa brother. Like it's not even fair. Like the best O lineman is not beating the best D lineman. It's that simple. It's that simple. Like the best O lineman in college was not locking down Chase Young 1-on-1 in 2019. Like that's just how it is. But it was so easy the way like Jack Sawyer's move, which is a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. But yeah. Like
it's some of that stuff to you got to think of it both sides. Both sides of the thing, like you're doing right there. You're like, well, that's a great thing to see, but then it's like, ooh, that might be kind of concerning. But
exactly,
but if you're looking at the player in general of Jack Sawyer, then you can kind of expect it. But something about like as a like offensive line or tackle stuff, it kind of seems like for those guys, especially in pass blocking, like I'm pretty sure edge rushers know basically what they're going to do. Their job's against the quarterback, and they can really see like, oh, maybe this is a pass play, and then they kind of know what move they're going to make and all stuff. So as an offensive tackle, you're somewhat playing defense yourself. You're defending your quarterback.
You are.
It's kind of about reverse psychology and all that stuff, but you're somewhat defending your quarterback, and you're trying to react. When you're pass blocking, you're trying to react to a defensive end or a linebacker's pass rushing skills. And when it's Jack Sawyer and you're a step behind, you're going to be left in the dirt, and your quarterback's going to be in the dirt as well. So
he's going to, and that's what happened. Jack Sawyer, I mean, I think he had like him and JT both had a couple of sacks from what I remember, which they're great DNs. They're probably our two best DNs if we're going to be completely just straight up front with you. But we need to have a good O-line. It's that simple because our offense is the best in the country, and it needs to be the best in the country. That's what we're banking on. That's kind of solidified, and we need that to keep it that way because if we're going to win the national title, not only do we need the best offense in the country, but we want to have a good defense too.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
That, and when you're playing against each other in these games and all that, like, obviously one side of the ball would have a better day than the other side of the ball. So you're kind of like, you're going to feel confident about one side of the ball, but then you're going to be like having questions about the other side of the ball. But it does kind of play mind games with you overall. Like it's a very interesting tactic when you think about it, as a fan or, the coaches know what they're getting. They know who they recruited. They know what needs to be fixed and all that stuff. But as a fan, you don't obviously have all that inside access, or you don't have that. You're not coaching them, so
exactly.
It's very interesting just sitting back here and like, especially in a game like that. So
right,
so yeah, like we talked about scheme offensively. How about scheme defensively? What did you see? Different looks from Ohio State, especially against this offense that is so explosive.
Right. So I saw like I said, I think we saw a little bit of that like Leo position, which is like a hybrid outside linebacker / D end, which we usually don't use much at Ohio State. I mean, sure, there's blitzing linebackers we've had before, but not literal like stand up. Like, what do you want to do? We've got a position that can do like anything. And I was interested to see Jack Sawyer out there playing a little bit of that position. And that's when he dropped back. And yes, his zone did kind of get Jackson Smith and Jibba ran like kind of into it, scored a touchdown. That's going to happen. But it's an interesting experiment because then you never know. Maybe he'll come off the edge one play. Like you sacrifice maybe a 10-yard gain for a big sack that makes him punt eventually. Mm-hmm. So I think I like it. I mean, I'll make that judgment once I see the game against Notre Dame. But yeah, like and we also saw a lot more man coverage than last year, and it was more aggressive man coverage. Last year, like we're just playing off the ball, like take the hitch, take the speed out. We didn't give up any big passing plays, but like there were some annoying things about like our pass defense ended up pretty decent last year, but there was definitely some annoying like the completions we did allow were like gimme completions. Like opening up like a wide open hole on the defense, running like either like deep man, which like Ohio State does not run like non-pressed man. Like there's not – they were playing our corner back, and like even some of our outside linebackers were playing back, giving the pitches to the slot or whatever, little curls in the zone and in man – the times that we did go press, I liked what I saw. Denzel Burke was locked down. And then we see in the spring game, we went a lot more press man coverage, which is what I like to see. Mm-hmm. Aggressive. We want to play aggressive. With the athletes we got, that's our advantage, is we can make big aggressive plays. Like keep your corners pressed is what I like to see. I don't want to see any cover 3 anymore. I don't want to see cover 3 from Ohio State football. So, like I said, like I saw some deep shots that were broken up man to man, and that's what you want. Like you got to trust that they will break those up because when you're going man, you're giving up a potential vertical threat if you don't have help. So I like to see it. I really do.
So, when you talk about zone, you talk about cover 3 and all that stuff, like that's, it's taking a softer approach. It just depends on, the type of guys you have in your defense. But Ohio State has, very good athletes, and they got very skilled corners that can
exactly,
so getting back to that, like that, Ohio State's not, they were in a bit of a mode last year where they did all that, like you said. And, they're trying to restart that trend, and they're trying to get back, to where things used to be.
2019 football.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me that wasn't one of the most aggressive defenses you've ever seen. And look where it brought us.
Pummeled.
And then we get to 2020, hire a new defensive coach because we had to, and we're playing. We have Sean Wade, who's so hyped up. It's like, yeah, he's a great slot corner. We're playing him cover 3 every play. And honestly, I put part of the blame on the coaches for the way his season ended up going that year. Like, keep us man. Like, do what worked last year. We do not change the scheme. And then you get to 2021, and I mean, wow. Like, you get to that Oregon game. Oregon's passing offense sucks, and we gave up way too much to them on these little hitch outs and these speed outs that we're just given easy access to because of these awful defensive alignments.
Yep.
And now the fact that I think we'll be back to a lot more aggressive style where they're earning everything they get. Like, make them earn it. If they're going to beat you, so be it. They're a better team if they can beat you man-to-man. So I want us to see us line up a lot man-to-man, especially against Notre Dame. I don't think they can out-athlete us. I really don't.
Yep. And when you look at, man-to-man and all that, there is a chance that your guy gets beat. But, hey, Ohio State, if they were, they're recruiting guys that play better man-to-man over zone. And when you're throwing against zone and all that, remember, you might be playing zone, but there's zones that are going to be open, just like basketball.
Yeah.
You're playing a 2-3 zone. You're taking away something, but you're
guaranteed. You're basically playing a zone. You're almost guaranteed to leave a completion on the field.
Yeah. It just
like, you aren't. You not. If you're that good of a corner, you can stop a completion every play.
Yeah.
Or whatever you are. Like, and I know I'm talking about 2019, but Jeff Okudah and Damon Arnett, I know how Damon Arnett has turned out, but whatever. Obviously, he hasn't gone the way he wants to. But that year, I don't remember either of them ever being beat. Not once did they get beat downfield playing man. And I'm not saying we have those two back there, but still, we've got good corners. We've got really good corners back there that can play man defense. And, I mean, that was the worst problem was about last year is we were such a soft defense. We play two linebackers who were soft in their own. And we would play this cover 3 that was just giving completion to the outside, which I don't like. I like if you're going to go zone, I'm more of a cover 2 look type of guy where you're at least taking away the bound. You're leaving the middle field open a little bit, but if you got good enough safeties to eliminate, which I think you couldn't have done it last year because we did have Bryson Shaw back there, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
But go man. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's just drives me nuts.
Yeah, just like I said, giving a cover 2 look, having safeties being able to work their halves of the field and able to make plays. Yeah, but then at the same time, like I said, you got press on the outside. You got man to man on the outside that
exactly
taken from the numbers to the boundary and all that. So
exactly, you're not giving up easy access as much on cover 2 as you are on a cover 3.
And if you have 2 good cover corners, you're just condensing the field and all. You're condensing the field. Like you're condensing the field both ways. You're condensing it widthwise and condensing it, with the safeties being back, there's going to be a lot more shorter throws. And then you have guys rushing the passers and then, the linebackers. It's just the whole chain of it, obviously, So
simplifies the game.
It does. It really does. When you have guys that are able to, understand that, and you have guys that are able, to consistently do their job, that just suffocates defenses and it, suffocates offenses. And then it allows those pass rushers to just makes their job that much easier. And quarterbacks are maybe throwing the ball every other drop back because they're ending up in the turf every other play.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I mean, we speak all this. I mean, we wish we could speak it all into existence, but we
wish we could.
We wish we could, but yeah.
I'm prepared for the worst on the defensive side. I'm prepared for it. Not saying I'm predicting it, but I'm prepared based off what happened last year.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, speaking of which, we could start with the defense. Like if you want to give a grade to all the, like the defensive,
Okay.
positional rooms and all that stuff. We can start with the corners, who we were just talking about, corners and safeties. What do you want to give a grade as?
So just grading the room, I'm giving I'll do like corners and safeties separate.
Yeah.
Corner room, I'm gonna give an A because I
Okay.
think it's a top 10 corner unit in the country, which I'd say deserves an A.
Mm-hmm.
But and I think it could be an A+ by the end of the year. I think our corner unit is one of the most profound going to be. I'm solid with it. I'm happy with what we have on the team. You got Denzel Burke, who was the best freshman corner in the nation last year, undisputed. And then you got Cam Brown, who's a fifth-year senior, who's been playing good ball since 2019. This is going to be his fourth year of meaningful minutes. Great year last year. Runs like 4.35 in the 40. So he's not getting beat vertically very much.
Yep.
And then I think Jordan Hancock and Ja'Kalen Johnson are great 3s and 4s. So you got a 4 deep rotation there of guys that you can trust on the field for sure. And so yeah, I think it's an A. I think corner's an A overall. All those guys are 4-star guys, and I think that Denzel Burke has showed last year that he should have been a 5-star guy.
There you go. So these guys are proving themselves in spring ball, and there's obviously a lot more work to do. But how about the safeties? What do we like from them? What grade?
I think our safety unit is more of a B+. So I think it's another good unit. Like I said, secondary is good for this team. I'm not going to give it that A yet because we haven't had a good safety. Josh Proctor didn't play last year except for one game pretty much. But we know what he can be. Ronnie Hickman, great year last year. But played more as a linebacker, but now is playing more of a safety. So you can only assume if they're going to move him, that means he's going to be good, just as good at that position. So, yeah, you got Ronnie Hickman, Josh Proctor. Tanner Mcallister was first team Big 12, I believe.
Yep.
Down at Oklahoma State. And now he's going to be he knows the whole scheme. So that's great. Cam Martinez is another great slot safety that's got versatility that had a pick 6 last year. What else? I'm missing somebody. Oh, Sonny Styles, the number 1 safety.
Yep.
From top 3 player of 2023 who's reclassifying is coming in at safety. And he won't hardly play, which means it's a good unit. Mm-hmm. And then we got a certain somebody out of the room that we're pretty happy to have.
Mm-hmm. Got that open out of the room.
Good dude and all. He actually took some ownership after the Michigan game and said, that's our fault. Like, we're going to go back. We're going to come back and get this next year. He won't be with the team. Good luck to him where he goes. No animosity towards him. It's not his fault they played him. Mm-hmm. But he did suck. But yeah, Court Williams as well. Court Williams. I can't not mention Court Williams, who can make an impact, has been dealing with injuries. And then Lathan Ransom, who was a starting slot safety this past year, who broke his leg or whatever in the Rose Bowl. Once he's back, there he comes right in the rotation. And then we've got other guys that not even going to mention because I'd be going down the list. I mean, we're so deep at safety. It's honestly insane.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, we can roll right into the front. We talked a lot about the safeties and corners and all that stuff. And, it's a very lockdown unit on the back end and all. So if we go into the linebackers, we touched a little bit on that, some good, some concern, all that. How are we feeling about them going into the fall?
I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous to see the improvement, because if they don't improve, I will be like nervous for crunch time. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, they took us out of the playoffs by themselves in a way. Like if they were decent, like the only reason I'm gonna talk about this Michigan game real quick. I mean, they were the reason this game. Exactly. They just hand the ball off, and he's got like 10 yards of room before he even gets touched. Mm-hmm. And then he's allowing Bryson Shaw into the ground. Yeah. Because the linebackers don't read holes or any of that. And then we get to offense, and we're playing on an ice skating rink.
Yep.
So we can't do what we want to. Still throw for 400 yards, put up about like 30. Defense can't do anything. Linebackers lose us the game. and the biggest rivalry ever. You don't like to see it. And this is a statement that sounds different than I mean it. We have one of the deepest linebacker units in the nation. We have 10 linebackers that could be on the field, around 10. But none of them are very proven linebackers. You've got Taraja Mitchell, Cody Simon, Steele Chambers, Tommy Eichenberg, which Steele Chambers is locked in as a starter. Reed Carrico, DeMonte Tranum from Arizona State, who's a running back there. Halie Gayote, the transfer from USC. Yeah, the 5-star guy from USC, going to be a fifth-year senior.
Yep.
I mean, CJ Hicks, it's so deep. But two to three guys have to solidify themselves, which is why I would give this room a C-. Because last year I'd have given them an F. But I'm expecting some improvement to get up to at least a C-. I'm hoping for more than a C-, but to play it safe, I'm going to give them that because of how deep the room is. And I think that there's potential for improvement for sure.
Well, how about D-line? Something good out of there.
Do you want D-line now?
Yes, because we don't need to talk about the linebackers again because that's kind of bringing back sorrows from Michigan.
Yeah, linebackers tough to talk about, man. Yeah. D-line, I would say D-line was a bit disappointing last year from what I had hopes for. I mean, Zach Harrison has yet to live up to the potential that we wanted to see from him. And I'm starting to realize that he's not the pass rusher that we thought was – he's more of a run-stopping type of guy. He honestly is a defensive tackle playing D-end. I'm done expecting him to have a 15-sack season. Yeah. I'm more expecting him to get his 4 sacks, but also stop the run well and be a not a third down D end. However, we get those 2 freshmen we had that were 5-stars. Well, now they're big boys. They've seen college football. They're going to play, and those dudes both have the potential to have double-digit sacks this year. Either one of them could. I predict at least one of them will have double-digit sacks this year. And then I think our other 2 sophomore D linemen, Tylek Williams, who was I think he led the team in sacks or was second in sacks last year and didn't play much. I mean, he's a beast at D line as a freshman, but I heard he was out of shape, which is why he couldn't play more. And I guess he's back in shape now. So having him being able to play a lot more minutes, and then Michael Hall Jr. is ripped, who's another defensive tackle, second year, was a high recruit. So having those guys, and then you've got Javante Jean-Baptiste, not that he's a superstar or anything, and then Jerron Cage and Teron Vincent coming back at the defensive tackle spots as well, who are both serviceable defensive tackles, nothing elite. Overall, it's a B unit. It's the second best unit on the defense behind. I'll even give it a B+.
Yeah.
Based upon having 3 5-star DNs being our main DNs, and it's kind of you really can't not give it at least a little bit higher than a B with that, based off of the fact that I think they're all 3 be really good players this year in their own ways. Good unit. I expect it to be much nastier than last year. All of our D linemen had the flu against Michigan, which people don't know. So did CJ Stroud. Not saying that's why we lost it all, but our D line looked different from usual that game. So there's little factors that play into these type of things. But I think if we just have that energy on the D line, it's going to be the best D line in the Big Ten, and then if not, top 5 in the country.
Yep. And I'm not going to get into Michigan, so we'll cut that out. So flip it up to the other side of the ball, the O-line. How do we feel about that?
I'm feeling pretty good about the starters, but I don't like the depth. So we got, as the starters, I'll give you the starting lineup. It's pretty set. Right tackle, DeJuan Jones. Feeling good about him. Nice season last year. Mammoth of a dude. You're not going to see anyone that just scares you more than him just walking around. The dude is huge. He's like 6'9", 380. I mean, this dude, Kyle McCord, I remember DeJuan Jones tweeted like 2 months ago. He was like, Archie Griffin just saw me and Kyle, but recognized me, but not Kyle. Talking about Kyle McCord. And Kyle McCord tweeted back, said, "Dog, you are 6'8", 380. How am I? How like obviously you're going to be recognized, which is like that's the truth. He's one of the largest humans in the state, just in general, and nobody wants to line up against him. He's been plows people into the ground. So really nice to have him back. At right guard, you're looking at Donovan Jackson, who is a freak. The dude is a beast. He didn't play last year much because he was a true freshman. But like we said last episode, he's an all-time great offensive guard recruit. I think he'll have a great year at offensive guard. Center, Luke Weipler, very solid center. And he does his job well. Had a pretty good year last year, returning starter. Left guard, Matt Jones. He was like our sixth guy last year, but he started against Clemson and Alabama in 2020. So it's not like the dude doesn't have experience, and he's a good O-lineman. I like what he brings to the table at guard. And then left tackle, you got former 5-star number 1 OT, Paris Johnson, who started last year at guard. Solid year, but his natural position is tackle. And so he's going to have his struggles at the beginning with not playing tackle since high school. But I think he can fix it. I really hope he does. I hope he's one of the best tackles in the country like he's projected to be. But spring game didn't look great, if I'm going to be 100%. So as a unit, and then, depth-wise, you got Josh Fryer's a pretty good backup. Zen Mikulski, Ben Chrisman, Tegrity. I mean, the depth's not there. I wouldn't be too comfortable with all those guys playing, except maybe Josh Fryer. So we can't afford injuries on the O-line. I think I'd give our starting O-line an A, as one of the best in the country, top 10, top 5. But if you're going to include depth, I think it drops down to a B. So that's a hard one to grade because O-line starters we're basically going to play the whole game. It's different than like a defense subs out a lot more than offense, O-line. So I'll give the starters an A, which matters more, and then I'll give the whole depth, the whole O-line in general a B.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, you don't rotate offensive linemen like that.
Exactly.
Maybe you have one come in for a different package, but that's really about it.
Right.
Not a whole lot of rotation there.
Exactly.
I'm going to kind of group these together, receivers and tight ends, if we can group that together.
That's a good idea. We'll group the whole receiving core together.
Yes.
I mean, I think this is where you see your first A+.
Yep. Man hard.
As the best room in the country.
Yep.
Even if you add the tight ends to the equation, which might even hurt us because obviously we don't have proven tight ends.
Yeah.
But we know the receivers matter much more than tight ends in football, in college football. You've got Jackson Smith and Jibba, number 1 receiver in the nation. Nobody's arguing it. I don't think I'd see. I mean, the only fans that would probably argue against it are Pittsburgh fans because their receiver won the Bolitnikoff last year, who wouldn't have even started at Ohio State. But yeah, you got the number 1 wide receiver in the nation. You've got Marvin Harrison Jr., who scored 3 touchdowns in his first start in the Rose Bowl. And our receiving unit this year, and plus more guys we got coming in, broke the all-time passing record. Obviously, it was Stroud that has the record, but the one game that this receiver unit was a part of, they broke the all-time Ohio State yards record in total yards.
Wow.
So you got Marvin Harrison. I think he's going to be a freak. 6'4", strong. Dad's a Hall of Famer. Beast receiver. Mecca Ibuka, number 1 wide receiver in the 2021 class. Elite player. He's going to be great. Julian Fleming, number 1 wide receiver in the 2020 class. Generational receiver prospect. And might not start. I mean, I hope he has a good year. But he's huge. He's definitely a freak of nature. There's no question. But we'll just see if he can put together the route running and everything combined.
Yeah.
Jaden Ballard, like we said last episode, very fast track star. Was like the number 5 wide receiver in the 2021 class, and he's like not going to play much. Cameron Babb, top 5 receiver in the 2018 class, tore his ACL like 4 times in college already, so hasn't even seen the field hardly.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't get hurt, which we pray he doesn't, you add in him to the equation, and then you've got two. And then, look, you got 4 of the top 10 receivers coming in from the 2022 class.
Oh, yeah.
As well as tight end, having like a 4 deep unit of 4 serviceable tight ends with G. Scott, Joe Royer, Cade Stover, and then Bennett Christian, I think, is a pretty physically gifted freshman tight end. So I think you're looking at A+. I think Jackson, Marvin, and Amika are our top 3 there, and I think they do end up being the starters. I think Julian does not get the start, which I'm going to be honest, could lead him into the portal. It could ultimately lead him into the transfer portal, which would be sad. But he waited his time. I mean, if he doesn't start this year, he deserves to enter the portal. But I think our receiver unit is clearly number 1 in the nation, and I don't think you can make an argument for any other core. I think number 2 might be Texas because as we were doing this episode, Alabama receiver Ajay Hall just committed to Texas out of the transfer portal.
Oh wow!
He's actually a freak. But he got kicked off of Alabama's team basically for trash talking the coaches because he didn't play much last year and stuff. He would tweet stuff after games. He just did not get along with Saban. So they got him. You got Xavier Worthy, and you've got Jaleel Billingsley. So Texas is number 2, but the gap is this wide still. So yeah, first A+ position is definitely the receivers, receiving core.
It's going to be really good and really nice to see those guys go out there, obviously, with the backfield and that nice little segue over there. What about backfield? Quarterbacks, running backs, what did we like from the backfield?
Backfield, man. So I think we have a clear top 2 quarterback in the country. You can put him at either spot. I don't really care. Yeah. I mean, whatever. I'm not going to make an argument right now or anything, but we'll see what happens. Probably the preseason Heisman favorite based upon consensus because Bryce Young's not winning it 2 years in a row. That doesn't happen. It happened once.
And history. We also take history into account in this too.
Exactly. That's what we're taking into account. So CJ Stroud, got your probably preseason Heisman favorite there at quarterback. Already showed what he can do. Almost breaking. Threw for 44 touchdowns, 6 picks in 1 year of starting, and he didn't play. He played what did he play? He played 2 less games than the record holder. Yep. Let's say he throws 4 touchdowns in those games. He breaks Dwayne Haskins' record. God rest his soul.
Yes.
Man, and then you've got depth at quarterback, Kyle McCord, Devin Brown. We kind of went over that. And then you go to your running backs, and you've got the best running back in the country back there, and Travion Henderson, which is the consensus. And then you've got Mayan Williams, unbelievable number 2, very shifty and strong, and he's just going to not scared. He just runs like a maniac. And then you got Evan Pryor, who showed his versatility in the spring game. I mean, let's be honest. The backfield's an A+ again.
Yep.
I'd probably give both positions an A+ separately too, if we want to do that. So, and that just tells you, is Ohio State's offense good? Yeah, it's unbelievable. Is our defense good? We'll see. Based upon you're not seeing C- out of the offense like you are.
Not at all, not one bit. I mean, you gave A grades across the entire board. So,
exactly. Which I would say if you would have separated tight end, I wouldn't have given it an A. So I'm not trying to be it sounds like bias, but it's not. I think pretty much everyone. Tight ends, by the way, if we want to separate them, I'm giving them a C. Yeah, I'm giving them a C. But then you pair them with the best receiving core in the country.
It's just
they just add along. It's an A+. But I think pretty much our whole offense is. There's not much question marks among the offense.
Not at all. Not one bit. Due to time constraints, we'll do projected starters and stuff like that on another episode. But I do want to answer one question before we do get out of here. Connor Jackson just asked, how far do you think we can make it in the college football playoffs this year? Do you want to get a very, 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 very early prediction of your top 4, Brady?
Okay, I can give you my top 4. So am I giving the playoff prediction or am I giving the top 4 teams in the country?
I mean, give me top. I think he said, how far do you think we can make it in there? But hey, if you want to give top 4 and what's going to happen and all that stuff, go for it.
Okay. So I think the seeds end up being I think your 1 seed. Man, I'm gonna go 1 seed. I'll take the easy route and say Alabama wins out and gets the 1 seed.
Yep.
I'll say we get the 2. I don't think this next team is a top 4 team, but I think they make the playoffs as the 3 seed in Clemson because they have a very favorable schedule, and they probably even get that if they lose a game, which is a joke. Their only team they play is Notre Dame, which is just one of our tough teams we play.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the 4th playoff spot, I don't want to say it. I'm going to go Utah, actually, not Texas. I was about to say Texas, but I just they're always overhyped. Texas is going to go 8-4 probably again, for being honest. I'll go Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even care if they got Quinn Ewers. I don't think Quinn Ewers is going to be a good quarterback this year. I mean, come on now. He's supposed to be a freshman. But I'm going to go Utah because they return a big portion of their team from last year, which was a really good Utah team. Oh, yeah. As you've seen, they almost beat Ohio State, given we had players out, but I'm not even going to get into that. But, but yeah, that's my playoff prediction. I think we beat Clemson in the semifinal.
Okay.
By like 10. I think we beat them by like 2 scores. And I think it'll be a very, very sweet win because then Clemson fans will probably be done talking because they still talk a little. They'll be like, oh, we beat you the last 3 times before. It's like, yeah, one of them you shouldn't have. Another one, good job. You smoked us. Congrats. Yeah. And then the other one, Braxton Miller's ribs Braxton Miller was hurt at the end of the game. We lost.
Enter Kenny Guyton.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I think we play Bama in the championship. I think Bama beats Utah. And I'm going to go – we're winning the national title. I'm giving you that as a ring prayer. I say we win the title.
All right.
It's our year.
Definitely have to remember to, screen record this, go back to it. We win this whole thing.
Right.
So, it's just – I hope we get to post this, this edit back from April. So, and there's a good chance of it.
Right.
Yep.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. But yep, that'll do it for our show tonight. Ohio State spring game review. We got Brady got a lot of good points out and everything. Fall camp coming up later and all that stuff. Everybody's kind of starting to get out for school and all that. So, Ohio State football is not terribly far away. Not terribly far away. But, so.
4 months, and then we're getting right into the thick of things.
Yep, and then really 2 or 3 months till fall camp. So it's approaching. It is definitely approaching. So with that,
it is.
I am Chase Johnson, Brady King on the other line. We'll see you guys on Thursday.
Yep, we'll see you guys.